Future State Gotham issue 1. Well, I've written Joshua Williams, but Joshua Williams and
Yeah, maybe you say it with a soft J.
and Giannis Miliunianis. I kind of got that right. So that is so did you remember this was going to be black and white?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Well, the reason I knew before I read it, but only because Connor mentioned it last week. Connor was like, "Did you know this was black and white?" I was like, "No, not really, no."
Me neither. So, yeah, I'll just say a little bit disappointed in this one.
Okay.
Just because the Future State story that basically is a lead-in to this, I like the cyberpunky neon-y stuff, and that doesn't hit as much
in black and white. Yeah, I mean, and there's some great ideas here. He fights a giant, mecha Scarface at the start of this.
Which, again, this is why Williamson is one of my favorite minds at DC right now, because why in a future story, why can't Wesker, his ventriloquism power, not have a mech? So now you have Mecha Scarface, right? Like, that's a fun concept, and it is true to the ventriloquist, right? Again, it just is missing a little bit of that charm of the cyberpunky neon, even in the drab, where it just, I don't know, this book feels half-baked.
It's kind of like it. It's funny because there's nothing wrong with black and white. Black and white is good if you're going for a moody noir, if you're going for like a horror book. Sometimes really benefits from black and white.
I mean, but Walking Dead was mostly black and white, right?
Pretty much all of it, I think. I mean, they're redoing it in color, but it was black and white originally. But it can be very moody. It can feel very shadowy. But the thing is, like Future State was full of neon. It was full of colors, and it was bright, and it was all this vivid stuff. And it's kind of weird to have this book be in black and white. I thought they might do the thing where there's like splashes of red or something. But,
because Red Hood.
Yeah, but there isn't. So we find out that Red Hood, whoever he's working for, because remember we had that tease in the Future State book of the person in the alley, which we assume was Bruce, but we still don't know for sure.
No, judging from the last page, I'm willing to say that it's not.
Yeah. So he's actually, the whole point of what he's doing is he's undercover, he's infiltrating the magistrate, and he actually, because of what goes down in this issue, which is after he takes down the big robot, Scarface, he's fighting and sort of competing a little bit with Peacekeeper 3, and there's this giant sort of explosion and sort of rumbling, and they're running away from all the crumbling road. And then at the end of the scene, they sort of, and it's a well-drawn scene. The art's actually pretty good in terms of the actual pacing and the action sequence. And the big 2-page spread, though, at the end of the scene, is that this explosion, whatever's done it, has created a giant bat symbol crater in the middle of the city, which is very un-Batman, because this could have hurt a lot of people, right? So they think this is the new guy, and the person in the alley tells Jason that this is the new guy. The new next Batman, right? And obviously, I'm speculating, can we trust this person in the alley? Because it doesn't seem like he would do that from what we've seen of him. No. So, but yeah, he does actually get instated as Peacekeeper Red, which is an official, on a trial basis, this is kind of like his trial run, to hunt down the next Batman as Peacekeeper Red. So it's bringing in the next Batman stuff, presumably as well, once we get the story going. It does remind us that Rose was with him and is left, so that's still a factor. So I like everything the story's doing in that sense. And the cliffhanger, of course, is that basically Nightwing and the rest of the Future State Batman family show up and they're like, okay, we need to talk, Jason, because you're being a bit of a bitch. That's the cliffhanger, effectively. So
they pull him up to beat him up, so like the person in the alley and whatnot, I'm wondering if it's the reason that he's convorting with them is the reason why Rose took off, because we know that at the end of that they were fine at the end of the Future State story, right? Like she was supposed to bring him in, but then they said, oh, it was a glitch, So I'm wondering if the person in the alley is the reason why she's not around. So it must be someone that's a bad influence. So whether it's Slade, maybe Roz, because I remember Future State teasing Roz a bunch, and we never got him.
I think it's also important to point out that the ending, I kind of glossed over how he gets there at the end, because I think it's actually kind of a nice detail that
Yeah.
Jason actually goes to the rooftops to find the Bat family because he wants to talk to them about the new Batman. Because I think, assuming that he did do this explosion, he wants to go and say, "Hey, this guy's in over his head. We need to talk about him and deal with him."
Right.
And Dick, basically, seemingly not knowing that Jason's undercover or whatever. And I think like Cass and Steph are behind him. I think Tim's there. Says this is a family meeting. Basically you're not welcome, and that's the final page specifically. So yeah, I mean the lack of color here. Like I have no problem with a black and white book in the right context, but it feels like this is the wrong choice for a black and white book.
Yep, 100%, and that's what left me a little disappointed because I liked what I read. I liked the story. I just wish like it would have pushed it over more if we got that the neon richness of it.
He's called Peacekeeper Red, and he's got like a slightly new outfit because it's partly Peacekeeper and partly Red Hood's outfit. Yeah. And I don't really know what it looks like because there's no color.
No, yeah, that's right. That was gonna be my thing too. Is we named Peacekeeper Red, but y'all don't know that because this is in black and white. You have to imagine what the Red Hood looks like on the Peacekeeper outfit. Which I did like at the beginning, where Peacekeeper 3, what he yells at him about is, "You're a hunter, not a vigilante. You're doing vigilante stuff. So where do your allegiances lie?" He goes, "I live down the street. I didn't want a mech crushing my stuff." So it was all very still like that he's writing that line. That we know he was doing vigilante stuff because that's him, right? But just the way that he has an antagonistic relationship with them. I like the way that they showed that. And,
the story is really good. Actually, I'm actually very much into this, especially since it is bringing in multiple parts of the Gotham world, which it makes sense. It's called Future State Gotham just because Red Hood's the main character. It is actually about the whole thing. It's just the baffling choice to make this a black and white book. I mean, this is a weird example because the coloring's been so good, so I wouldn't want them to take it away. But you could do like Detective right now in black and white, for example, and it could fit the tone of the story because we're dealing with murders and zombies and whatever, and it could be a really nice, creepy like take on it. Now, admittedly, the wonderful colors of that book mean that I wouldn't want them to take it away, but it's just the first thing I could think of that would probably fit conceptually with a black and white, style. Or I'm sure there's other ones that are out right now. I mean, Batman generally lends himself to black and white, actually.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's just that again, that's my main disappointment because even the art wasn't like, not like in the story that we got in Future State where it would kind of the faces would go a little bit, like I said, Tintin, kind of that cartoony style. There's a little bit of that, but not a lot. So, and it helps when the majority of the, when the main character wears an expressionless mask, that helps that out a lot. So a lot of my stuff that I found fault with earlier just isn't there, but like the action's all good. So there's not much to complain about except the lack of color, which is weird.
Yeah. Like I said, the art's actually very good, and the motion, the bike chase, because that was one of the things that was good about that Future State story was when there was a vehicle chase of some kind, and here it's the same thing. Like them, riding and racing and trying to get away from the explosions is actually a really good sequence with that great payoff 2-page spread. So yeah, it's a weird thing. I feel like we're gonna get to ratings here. What are you giving it? But
yeah. I'm giving it a 7.5. Would have been an 8 if it, Red Hood was red.
It's a very similar sentiment. I'm actually going a bit high. I'm going to give it an 8, but it probably would have been 8.5 if this had color. I mean, hell, let's say the coloring was great and it had that great neon look to it. It may have been a 9 even if the coloring really made it pop. But I'm still gonna give it an 8 because I think the story's really compelling. I'm into finding out about what's going on in this world and everything that's going on, and the idea we have we have the untrustworthy Bat family member as the undercover one is just a good idea.
He's getting a little bit close, right? Yeah. I just want to point out that Pete rated a Red Hood book higher than me, so that's all.
There's a surprisingly decent couple of Red Hood stories going on right now. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Oh, actually, I didn't even mention the backup. There's a backup in Future State Gotham, which was not that good. I
kind of skimmed it because there's not a lot of words, and I have no idea what the story actually was. So yeah.
I will say I did think the art was good at it. To be fair, the art was good, which is still black and white. But I thought the the story didn't do much for me, so I'll just leave it there. We can move on. But it existed.
Cool.